One. Let's go ahead. Looks like I'm live over here. Happy Thursday, everybody. I'll give us just a second to come on in. I'm so happy. I see you coming in over there on Instagram. Thank you. Happy Thoughtful Thursday, y'all. It's good to be here. It's good to be at the point where we are at Thursday evening, huh? The eve of what? The eve of the weekend? Friday Eve. Let's put it that way. Hopefully, everybody's had a great week. Hopefully, you have had a week that has been filled with promise and purpose. And let's just face facts. Any day that we get up and we're able to move around and do some things, that's a day filled with promise, right? So let's be thankful for it. Let's be thankful for it. Well, we have 15 minutes. Let's jump right into it. So let me ask you something. How are you doing mentally? Last month was Mental Health Month, and actually, every month, emphasis has been placed on it. I have a couple of good friends who are major advocates for mental health. And the reason why there is so much recognition now, finally, is because people are accepting the fact that when you talk about health, it is both physical and mental. And there was such a stigma around it, particularly amongst people of color, a stigma around mental health and getting help and that kind of thing. But I want to talk to you today because every time we talk reinvention, I talk about living whole and thriving. And so my approach to it has always been a holistic approach. If you are changing something in your profession, if you're changing something in your life, in your relationships, whatever it is, you have got to work what I call the core. You've got to start from the inside out. So you work with the things like the heart to make sure that that platform is stable and adjusted for change. Your heart, of course, is where you harbor a lot of your beliefs and your thoughts. So you have to make sure that that's on par, that you don't have any beliefs that have been implanted, say, from childhood, that you really need to dispel of and let go of. And many of us have those. And many of us don't even realize we have them. That's a whole other conversation. But we work from the inside out because in order to effectively change anything, we have got to be right physically and mentally, meaning we've got to be healthy so that we can make the changes necessary to do the things that we want to do. So I ask you today again, how healthy are you? And I'm talking mental and physical. The importance of self care and maintaining a positive mindset, developing resilience, all of that plays into what you need to do to make changes in your life. And often, reinvention involves facing challenges and setbacks that we really have just chosen to kind of put aside on the shelf. You know what I mean? Because it's just easier to forget those things rather than to face them and deal with the repercussions that may have occurred because of them. All of these things are involved in the state of our mental being, the state of our mental health, because why? It impacts that. It impacts how we think, it impacts how we feel, it in fact impacts so many things. And I apologize over here on Instagram. It's telling me that my connection is not the greatest. But it's crucial to cultivate resilience and a growth mindset to be able to navigate these hurdles. So let's talk about this just a little bit. The first thing that we have to do, of course, if we're going to make any changes and we're going to improve where we are mentally, we got to start by doing an assessment and finding out, well, yeah, exactly. How are we? So we'll talk about that. And then we'll talk about some other things that we need to do to foster the kind of healthy mindset, the kind of healthy mental being, the mental status, the mental condition that we need to be in. All right. So, how is it first of all that we do this assessment? Well, it's just that. You need to take the time out to sit down and take a look at yourself and find out, well, exactly where am I? pause. Think about how it is that you have been handling things emotionally, how you've been thinking about things, how you've been behaving as it relates to certain occurrences, certain activities, certain things that you encounter. What has your behavior been like? Has it been kind of sporadic? Have you had instances of breaking down frequently and you just don't quite understand why? Doesn't have to be much. Doesn't have to be really anything going on. You could just be upset for no reason at all. Sometimes those kinds of things are hormonal, particularly, once you get to my riser's age, I know who I'm talking to. And sometimes it's, really an indication of something else that you need to look at from a mental perspective. Are you persistently, consistently sad? Why is that? What is bringing on those emotions? So, the first piece of it is to just do that assessment. Assess where you are mentally. What mental, emotional state are you in? And looking at that can really provide major insight into your overall mental status. What's something else that you need to do? Check in with your physical well being. Yeah, the two correlate. Stress and strain has an impact, of course, on you mentally as well as physically. So they often interact with one another. For example, a status of not being emotionally in a good place can affect how you eat, how you treat your body, what you do. And all of those things have a direct impact. I can think of one in particular where you, for example, may not eat, you may not exercise, depending upon what mental status you're in. You could be going through a state of depression. All of that has a ripple effect because it also affects how you are and how you operate physically. So it's important to check both physical and mental health because they're closely related. Take note of any symptoms, any changes in your appetite, any changes in your sleep. Are you resting well at night? Are you waking up in the middle of the night and your mind gets to churning so much that you cannot get back to sleep? Ah, I can be guilty of that from time to time. That's why it is so, so important to turn things off. Because if you're already in a sensitive place mentally and emotionally, you need to try and get as much rest as you possibly can. So electronics in the bed, doing work right before going to bed, none of that is going to help you to get to a better place. So you need to make sure that you're monitoring that. Do you have aches and pains, unexplained aches and pains? That's on the physical realm as well. All of that can correlate to where you are mentally, also. All right. So, the second thing is check in with your physical well being to really get an assessment of how your health, your mental health is checking out. What's the third thing? Monitor your thoughts. We already talked about that a little bit in number one, right? Taking the time out. And we talked about emotions. What have your thoughts been like? And be honest with yourself. That's where you have to start. Honesty with yourself. Sometimes we don't want to tell people what we're thinking because we think that others are going to think we're weak. They think that we're incapable. They think that something's wrong with us. They think that, you're going to think that everything that somebody told you you were when you were growing up is true. There's so many reasons why we don't want to face exactly how we're feeling or what we're doing. But it is imperative to really sit down and think, well, how have I been responding to things? What kind of thoughts have I been having? Have I been having thoughts of gloom and doom? Thoughts where, I just wish things were different. Thoughts where I wish I wasn't here. Yeah, those kinds of things that you don't really want to admit to yourself. Thoughts where I wish other people weren't here. Okay. Thoughts where I feel like I'm in a deep dungeon and I'll never come out. I'll never be able to pull myself up out of water. I'll never get out of where I am financially. I'll never get out of where I am physically. I'll never get out of the relationship I'm in that's been poisoned for so many years. All of those kinds of thoughts directly contribute, of course, to our mental health. And we may put them off as just being, well, everybody goes through those things. That's one of our ways of coping, right? Everybody goes through it. So obviously, I don't have to really worry about that. Well, yes, you do, because that directly tells where you are mentally. And being able to just accept something that's unhealthy as something that everybody else does and say for that reason it's all right, that is not healthy in and of itself. All right. So monitor your thoughts. Make sure that they are healthy. Make sure your thoughts are prospering and not negating or pulling you down. Make sure your thoughts are positive and full of life and not full of darkness. That's so, so important and something that I really, really stress whenever I'm doing any kind of coaching whatsoever. All right. Again, they can also identify some patterns that may affect your mental health too, just depending on how you think. And that's a whole other case that I would leave to the psychologist and to the psychiatrist because I don't know that pattern, but I do know that it can directly relate to that. What's a fourth thing? Evaluate your relationships. And I hit that just a few minutes ago. I mean, just on the last one. If you're thinking that an abusive or a negative or a relationship where the relationship is 80-20 and you're doing 80% and the person who is your friend is always contributing at about a 20. If you're in a relationship just strictly for something that you can do for someone else, all of those are indications that you are really not thinking at the proper place, at the proper space, and that mentally there is something going on there that is just not healthy. And it is causing you to remain and to dwell in these unhealthy relationships. All right. They significantly impact our mental well being. What's the quality of your relationships? And I'm talking relationships at work, I'm talking family relationships, I'm talking friendships. What relationships with any and every person that you have contact with? What is the quality of them? Um, do you feel supported? Do you feel valued? Those are things that you need to have in your relationships. You don't want to be in a relationship where someone sees you as not having any real value. That really pulls you down in so many respects mentally, and it is just a snowballing effect. You have no value, then you feel that you're unworthy, and you're unworthy, so you don't approach doing things and approach all of that as an example spirals into, well, there is no possible way that I can reinvent to change and to get that better life that I keep hearing that I can have, right? So that is number four. Number five is consider how you are functioning daily. How many of us move from activity to activity just mindlessly? We get up, and before we know it, we have already started. We don't even know how, when we showered. We don't remember how we showered, how we ate. We just know that we're sitting in front of our desk and we've already started plowing into the work that we really don't like doing anyway, but hey, it supplies a need that we have. And we conduct most of our life in that way. We function, we push, we go, we push and pull each and every day just to make it through. And that's just what we're doing. We're making it through. We're not really thriving. We're more so just surviving. And we figure because we've done it for so long, sitting in a situation where we're just surviving is the way that we're supposed to handle it. God said there would be rough days. We go behind all of that. Well, yeah, that is true, but he also promises days of prosperity and days of health and days of abundance. And we can't dwell so much on the negative things. And a lot of us do that. We try to justify staying where we are because God said there will be some suffering. Well, He said some other things in the Word too. He didn't say we're going to suffer all the days of our, well, yeah, there is some suffering that will entail probably all the days of our life. But you get the gist of what I'm saying. He's not saying that we have to live a depleted life, to suffer for a cause, to suffer. That is not what he's saying, because he desires for us to have a life where we can live in abundance, a life where we live in purpose and do the things that he desires for us to do. So consider how, I could go on about that for a while. Consider how you're functioning from day to day. Are you struggling to concentrate when you make decisions? All right. That's definitely an indication that there is some mental stress and strain there that needs to be addressed. Do you find it challenging to complete routine activities? You know, that is something else that is an indication that there is some mental self care that needs to be done. Things that you usually do effortlessly are just all of a sudden such a burden to get up and to do and to walk through and to orchestrate life with. Changes in functioning, basically, can definitely be indicators of mental health concerns. All right. So, do I have a sixth one there? I do. And it's a very important one, probably the most important one of all of the things that I've talked about tonight. That's a part of your assessment and a part of taking action to make it better. And that thing is seeking professional help. Again, particularly we in the community of color have such a stigma around help, seeking help. It is worse to be in a situation where you know you can be better, or perhaps you don't know you can be better. But to be in a situation where you settle and stay where you are, it's worse to do that than to reach out and get the help, than not to reach out to get the help that is needed. Okay. If you're unsure, and if the things that I talked about tonight, and you probably even could have even thought of some more things, I know you can. If you're unsure and those things are persistent and their difficulties continue, it's essential that you seek professional help. Mental health professions such as therapists and counselors provide expert guidance. Of course, they can do the assessments that go further than the assessment, the personal assessments that I was talking about that we do to figure out exactly where we are. They can extend things further and provide help if some type of medication is needed. Anything that is needed to get you back to the point where you are healthy so that you can prosper and live the life that you were designed to live. All right. And those are the things I wanted to talk to us about tonight. Yeah, reinvention is a holistic thing. It involves mind, body, and soul. It all has to be in alignment. It all needs to be healthy. Reinvention really isn't for the faint of heart. Think about it. If you're changing something totally around from what you've always done, and I don't care if that's a relationship, a job, a new house, whatever it is, all of those things require something from you, and it requires your absolute best in order to get to what you want it to accomplish and where you want to be. And we want to be healthy, we want to be happy, and we want to live the life that God's designed us to live, and we want to do that in abundance. So you owe it to yourself to do the assessment to make sure you're okay. All right. And if you're not, seek help. All right. That's it, everybody. That is it. I hope that this has found some listening and some receptive ears. I hope that it has helped someone. Reach out to me. I know of other resources out there as well. If you need support in the coaching arena, definitely reach out to me. The reinvention strategies that we talk about, like I said, they're holistic. And let me tell you, they're proven because many of them I have gone through myself, and I've definitely helped others to go through successfully and to make changes and lifelong changes that make a difference. All right. You owe it to yourself to be your best self. So listen, as I end, as I always do, know that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. You're designed for a reason and a purpose. Your thumbprint is unique. It's yours and yours only. No one else in this entire world, with all the billions of people, have what you have. And that thumbprint that you have has been designed to make impact. Go out and touch something with it so that you can impact it and make the change that we need to see, the change that you need to see in your life. All right. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Be safe. Make sure you have a great weekend. Spend some time restoring, reinventing, reinvigorating. Spend some time doing the things that make you happy, things that bring you joy, things of purpose and of substance. I have the documentary coming up. I have the information for getting tickets about that. Also, I have information on what it is that you need to do. Sorry about that, Instagram. What it is that you need to do to enroll in my class that I have, my program that I have starting next week. All of that has been scrolling at the bottom, but I'll put it in the notes too. All right. You guys go out and have a wonderful, wonderful day and a really great weekend. All right. Bye bye.